What if I told you that one single company built everything, from the plane that started the jet age, to flying fortresses, stealthy fighters, massive helicopters, and even autonomous drones? In this video, we're going through every Boeing airplane, helicopter and drone ever made, from the earliest propeller aircraft to today's cutting-edge machines. To keep things simple and easy to follow, we'll only talk about the main models, not every single variant or subversion. For each aircraft, we'll give a quick, clear breakdown of what it was built for, when it flew, how many were made, and why it mattered. By the end of this video, you'll have the full picture of Boeing's entire aviation history, all in one place. The 707 was Boeing's first successful jet airliner, and basically started the jet age in the late 1950s. It cruised around Mach 0.8, carried about 140 passengers, and was used heavily by airlines and militaries. Around 1,000 were built between 1958 and 1979. The 717 is a small, efficient short-haul jet, originally designed as the MD-95. It typically seats around 100 passengers and is known for reliability and low operating costs. About 156 were built from 1998 to 2006. The 720 was a shortened, lighter version of the 707, meant for shorter routes. It flew faster than most airliners of its time, but didn't sell well. Only 154 aircraft were produced between 1960 and 1967. Designed for smaller airports, the 727 has 3 rear-mounted engines and excellent short-field performance. It carried 130 to 180 passengers and became extremely popular worldwide. Over 1,800 were built from 1963 to 1984. The 737 is the most produced jet airliner in history. It's a short to medium-range aircraft used by airlines everywhere, seating roughly 85 to 220 people, depending on variant. First flown in 1967 and still in production, with more than 11,000 built. The iconic Jumbo Jet was the world's first wide-body airliner. It could carry over 400 passengers and revolutionized long-haul travel. Built from 1969 to 2023, with 1,574 produced. The 757 is a narrow-body jet with long range and strong performance, popular on transatlantic routes. It typically seats 180 to 230 passengers. About 1,050 were built between 1981 and 2004. The 767 is a wide-body twin-engine jet used for medium to long-haul flights and cargo. It seats around 200 to 300 passengers and is still used heavily as a freighter. Over 1,300 built since 1981, with freighter production ongoing. The 777 is a large, long-range, wide-body jet known for powerful engines and reliability. It carries 300 to 400 passengers and became a backbone of long-haul travel. Introduced in 1995, around 1,700 built. The 787 uses advanced composites for fuel efficiency and comfort. It flies long distances with fewer passengers, typically 240 to 330. First delivered in 2011, with 1,100 built so far. The 247 was one of the first modern airliners with all-metal construction and retractable landing gear. It carried about 10 passengers. Only 75 were built in the early 1930s. This was the first airliner with a pressurized cabin, allowing higher, smoother flights. It carried about 33 passengers. Just 10 were built in the late 1930s. The 314 was a massive flying boat used for long-distance ocean routes. It carried passengers in luxury across the Atlantic and Pacific. Only 12 were built between 1938 and 1941. Based on the B-29 bomber, this was a luxurious post-war airliner. It carried around 100 passengers and featured sleeper cabins. 55 were built from 1947 to 1950. This was the first all-metal monoplane fighter used by the US Army Air Corps. It had fixed landing gear and open cockpit. Around 150 built in the early 1930s. The Boeing F-2B was a US Navy biplane fighter from the late 1920s known for aerobatics. It first flew in 1926 and entered service in 1928. Only 32 production aircraft were built, plus one prototype, so it was more of a small run than a mass fighter. The F-4B was a carrier-capable biplane fighter that served as a main US Navy fighter in the early 1930s before newer designs replaced it. It's basically the Navy version of Boeing's biplane fighter line from that era. Production totals vary by source, but one commonly cited figure is 187 delivered to the US Navy. The F-15 is a high-performance air superiority fighter designed to dominate the skies. It can exceed Mach 2.5 and has an incredible combat record. Over 1,600 built since 1972. The Hornet is a versatile fighter used for air combat and ground attack. It's carrier-capable and very maneuverable. About 1,480 built from the late 1970s onward. The B-17 was a World War II heavy bomber, famous for durability and defensive guns. It carried large bomb loads over Europe. Over 12,700 built between 1936 and 1945. One of the most advanced bombers of World War II, featuring pressurized cabins and remote gun turrets. It famously dropped the atomic bombs on Japan. About 3,970 built. The B-47 was an early jet bomber with swept wings, designed for nuclear missions. It marked the transition to jet-powered strategic bombers. Over 2,000 built in the 1950s. The B-52 is a long-range strategic bomber that's still flying today. It can carry nuclear and conventional weapons and has incredible endurance. 744 built, in service since 1955. A large military transport capable of carrying tanks and heavy cargo into short runways. It's vital for global airlift missions. 279 built between 1991 and 2015. The C-97 is a big piston-engine military transport derived from the B-29 family, used for heavy lift in the late 1940s and 1950s. It first flew in 1944, entered service around 1947, and was produced through the 1950s. Only 77 were built as transports, but the same basic airframe spawned a much larger tanker fleet. The KC-97 was the aerial refueling version of the C-97 family, slower than jets, but crucial during the transition era before the KC-135 took over. Production was huge compared to the transport version. Aerial refueling aircraft based on the 707 platform. It has refueled US and Allied aircraft for decades. Over 800 built, still in service since 1957. A modern tanker based on the 767 with advanced refueling systems. It replaces older KC-135s. In service since 2019, with 100 plus delivered. The E-4 is the famous Doomsday plane, a heavily modified 747-200 built to keep command and control alive during extreme national emergencies. It first flew in 1973 and entered service in 1974. Only 4 aircraft were built, and they're still in service. The E-6 is a command and communications relay aircraft based on the 707, used by the US Navy for the Takamo mission, basically ensuring messages can reach nuclear forces, including submarines. First flight was 1987, introduced 1989, and 16 were built. The RC-135 family are long-running reconnaissance aircraft derived from the C-135/707 era airframes. They've been heavily upgraded over time and remain important for intelligence collection. A radar surveillance aircraft with a large rotating radar dome. It provides airborne command and control. 68 built since the 1970s. A maritime patrol aircraft based on the 737, used for anti-submarine warfare. It's fast, modern, and sensor-heavy. 200 plus built since 2010. The E-7 is an airborne early warning and control aircraft based on the modern 737, using a fixed radar instead of a spinning dish like AWACS. First flight was 2004 and it entered service in the 2000s. The V-22 is a tilt rotor that takes off like a helicopter but flies faster like a turboprop airplane, used for assault support, cargo, and special operations. It first flew in 1989, entered service in 2005. A heavy-lift helicopter with tandem rotors, used to transport troops and cargo. It's fast for a helicopter and extremely reliable. 1,300 plus built since 1960. The AH-64 Apache is a dedicated attack helicopter built for anti-tank warfare, close air support and armed reconnaissance. It's known for its nose-mounted 30mm cannon, Hellfire missiles and advanced sensors. The Apache first flew in 1975, entered service in 1986 and is still in production today. Across all main models, over 2,500 Apaches have been built, making it one of the most successful attack helicopters ever. An unmanned carrier-based refueling drone for the US Navy. It extends the range of carrier aircraft, entering service in the 2020s. Scan Eagle is a small, long-endurance reconnaissance UAV used for surveillance, especially from ships and remote bases. It first flew in 2002 and became widely used because it's relatively simple and persistent.